Okay, good morning, everyone. Chazelle, Francis, David, and Michael. I think we can start. So for today, we'll just actually tapos na tayo ng Math 174 content discussion. So congrats, guys. Almost there, except for two things. So una, yung problem set number 2, which is already uploaded in Canvas. So that will complete the problem set. So 20% each of the problem sets. So ang deadline niya ay December 21, right before midnight. Ito nga ba yung final natin na pag-usapan for the deadline? Or did I give you a longer deadline? I hope okay lang ito. I think parang tawag doon, parang quid pro quo na natin ay maaga ko siyang binigay December 14 so that you'll have 7 days in order to finish it. Tapos ilang items nga ba yun? I think there are 3 problems in the problem set. Number 1 is an essay, sort of essay writing problem. May 10 tanong that you should answer each of them in not at most in at most 5 sentences. So maiksi lang yung hinahanap kong sagot sa kanila. Each question will be worth 2 points. And then yung isang problem number 2 is about numerical differentiation. And the last problem is about numerical integration. So yeah, yung tatlong problems yan. So I guess you can devote at most 2 days for each of the problems. So kung maaga nyo matapos yung problem number 1, upload nyo na siya sa Canvas para ma-scan ko na rin siya para magkaroon kayo ng idea where you are standing in Math 174 bago kayo pumasok ng Christmas break. All right? And then aside from the final problem set, meron pa tayong final project. The final project, according to our syllabus, is worth 20%. So medyo malaki yung final project. So equivalent siya sa isang problem set or sa tatlo at kalahating lab exercise. So I hope you will devote a good portion of your efforts for the final project. Though my problem is medyo ngayon ko lang ibibigay yung guidelines. So ngayon ko lang kayo in-expect magsimula with a final project. So hopefully you already have your groups with you. Meron yatang 4 na nagsagot na nagpapahanap sa akin ng mga ka-groups nila. So if you haven't signed up for the Google form, I sent it via Canvas. So look at the announcement page in Canvas. There's a link to the Google form. I'll be waiting for responses until Thursday, this coming Thursday. Tapos, after Thursday, so by Friday, pwede ko nang ibigay yung final grouping. Alright? Tinignan ko yung responses ng 4 na yon. One of them prefers to have a partner. So, dalawa lang. Gusto niya, preference niya, dalawa lang silang magka-group. Yung isa, preference ay 3. Tapos yung dalawa, preferred nila na 4 sila sa group. So, kaya hindi ko pa sila mag-group. Mag-aantay muna akong ima-match ko yung mga preferences. Pero kapag walang magsaswak dun sa preferences or yung combination of number of members ay hindi, randomly assign ko na lang sila kung ilang mang members ng group. All right? So kaya I'll wait until Thursday for those who would like to have group mates pero wala pa sila nakakausap na group mates. So by Friday, you'll have the groupings so that you can start doing the project. Okay? So that's 20%. So I'm sorry kung kakailanganin yung mag-meet during the Christmas break or a couple of days during the Christmas break or to work a little bit about it. I tried to stretch the timeline for the final project. So pwede niyo siyang gawin this week. Kaya lang nagpa-problem set nga pala kayo. So siguro next week you can work about it and probably 1 week in January. So during the finals week, you can still talk about it and prepare the required submissions. All right. Uh, and then I also uploaded in Canvas yung final project guidelines. So ito siguro yung daanan natin ngayon. Mabilisan lang, and then I'll give you a couple of examples of previous projects that I ask my students to submit. But before we proceed, meron ba mga questions about the current problem set? Para tuloy-tuloy tayo mamaya tungkol sa final project? Or do you have other concerns about the course? Okay, wala naman. All right. So, at least wala na kayong mga lab exercises na iniisip, no? Kasi tapos na supposedly yun kahapon. So these are the guidelines for the final project. Number one, pwede kayong mag-work solo or in a group with at most 4 members. So, and then again, as I've mentioned, yung mga ka-group nyo, hindi kailangan nasa sarili yung lab section, hindi kailangan nasa sariling lecture. So as long as Math 174 student siya this semester, pwede nyo siyang kunin as your groupmate. And then there are 2 types of allowed projects. Number one is type 1. Dapat i-feature nyo yung application ng isang numerical technique na hindi natin, or actually, ng isang numerical technique na nandito sa mga bullets na to, na nasa listahang to. So typically, I was thinking of asking you to apply numerical techniques either in approximating a function, in differentiation or integration that we did not discuss in class. So kung may maisip kayo na wala sa listahan, sabihan nyo lang ako. Tapos pwede kong i-approve na ganun yun yung gagamitin nyo kahit wala siya sa listahan na yun. I just tried to list here para mas madali sa inyo na pwede kayo mag-search sa internet using this keywords para makita nyo itong mga techniques na to. Alright? So in project of type 1, i-apply nyo yung mga techniques na to into real-world data. So kuha kayo ng data, be it say a table of the GDP of the Philippines all throughout the years, or say foreign exchange, or stock prices, or number of accidents occurring in Metro Manila or in your locality. So kung meron kayong access sa data ng munisipyo nyo, pwede nyo siyang gamitin, applyan nyo lang siya ng numerical techniques. Alright? So that's the problem of type 1. Yung problem of type 2 naman ay medyo more on the theoretical side. So if you are a math major and you want to work closer to home, so pwede namang maggawa kayo ng detailed exposition sa isa sa mga topics na to. When I say detailed exposition, pwede niyong i-discuss or gumawa kayo ng parang katulad ng module natin, parang discussion ng mga numerical processes or algorithms na to. So i-discuss niyo yung motivation behind them, ano yung gamit nila. Tapos, instead of, kasi nga, may mga topics na mahirap hanapan or i-apply sa real world data. So kung type 2 project yung gagawin nyo, explain nyo siya. Tapos, pwede kayong gumawa ng mga sarili nyong example that are not necessarily tied to real world data. Okay? So basically, halos parehas yung type A at saka yung type 1 saka type 2 project. Yung type 1 project nga lang, i-apply nyo yung numerical technique sa real world data. Tapos yung type 2 project, medyo more on the theoretical side siya na mas detalyado yung discussion yun ng method. Tapos i-apply niyo siya or magko-construct kayo ng examples or illustrations na hindi necessarily nanggaling sa real world data. Alright? So yun yung dalawang klase ng problems. You can choose if you'll do type 1 or type 2. Bahala na kayo sa group nyo. No restrictions on that. Feel free to choose which type is more suited for you. Kasi ito yung mga posibleng topics. Right? Newton divided differences. Pero type 2 project na lang siguro siya kasi at kung nga ba siya nilagay sa type 2? Kasi number 1, di natin siya nagamit sa klase. Hindi ko siya na-discuss. Usually, dati nung mga unang taong ko nagtuturo ng 174, dinidiscuss ko pa siya. So if you are interested into looking Newton divided differences, especially if you have taken, I think it's math 170, kung meron pa nun ngayon. It's about discrete methods. Ano ang title nun? Finite differences, yung title nung course. So nagre-revolve siya around Newton divided differences. You can talk about it with regards to polynomial interpolation. Then may mga iba pang klase ng interpolation techniques that we were not able to discuss in class. We have barycentric Lagrange interpolation, polynomial interpolation in 2 or more dimensions. This is, I think, part of our outline, pero wala tayong time para ma-discuss na siya. So yeah, ito naman yung paano ka mag-approximate ng isang function of 2 or more variables. So you can discuss mga techniques on how to do two-dimensional interpolation or three-dimensional interpolation. Now, if you'll be doing a project on this, you can focus on one specific technique. All right. And then pwede ring Bezier curves, which is more of a more graphical example of the use of numerical interpolation techniques. So nilagay ko siya sa type 2 kasi parang parametric kasi 'to. Kung meron kang thousands of datas, baka mahirapan kayong mag-apply ng Bezier curves kasi maraming computations involved and so on. So, you can do it in a type 2 project. You can, because Bezier curves are used in probably drawing any object using equations and so on. So it would be nice if you have the free reign. Kung gusto niyo gumawa ng self-portrait nyo using Bezier curves, then that's fine. So kaya nilagay ko siya sa type 2. Hindi kailangang real-world data yung gamitin nyo. Kunin nyo yung picture nyo, tapos gamitan nyo ng Bezier curves, that's fine. Tapos yeah, kaya siya nasa type 2. Then there's also Hermite interpolating polynomials. I used to include this in 174, pero nagsasuffer yung integration. So instead of Hermite interpolating polynomials, I opted to discuss Monte Carlo simulations instead of that. So pero you can look into Hermite interpolation. Tapos sa splines, meron tayong isang niligtangan. We did piecewise linear interpolants and then cubic splines na naligtawan natin yung quadratic splines. So you can do an exposition of quadratic splines or apply quadratic splines in real-world data. Tapos meron pang mas generic sa kanila, trigonometric naman or periodic splines. Tapos pwede rin mga numerical differentiation formulas na hindi natin na-discuss sa klase. May dalawang klase ng numerical differentiation techniques that we discussed in class. Those that are obtained using the interpolating polynomial. So meron kang data, kukunin mo yung interpolating polynomial, tapos i-differentiate mo yung interpolating polynomial, isa yung approximate para sa derivative ng function representing the data points. Tapos gumamit din tayo ng Taylor series expansion para makuha yung finite differences na nag-approximate sa derivative. Now, there are lots of different numerical differentiation techniques aside from these two, such as compact finite differences and pseudo-spectral derivatives. So pwedeng tingnan nyo itong mga topics na to if you are inclined into doing projects in numerical differentiation. Okay? And then sa numerical integration naman, pwede kayo mamili sa mga topics na to. Hermite quadratic formula. Pwede rin yung mga adaptive, yung mga automatic integration techniques like the non-adaptive and adaptive integration algorithms. So they are classes of algorithms. So pwede kayo mag-focus halimbawa sa isang adaptive integration technique. So sa paper nyo o dun sa final project, i-discuss nyo briefly. Kung type 1 yung project nyo, i-describe nyo briefly paano nag-work yung process, ano yung technique na gagamitin nyo, tapos i-apply nyo siya sa real-world data. Kung type 2 yung project nyo, mas detalyado yung exposition o yung pagdi-discuss nyo ng method itself. Pwede kayong pumunta sa error bound niya, error estimate, ano yung significance ng method, ano yung pros and cons of the method. Tapos, gawa lang kayo ng specific example. Halimbawa, papa-integrate nyo lamang si sin x squared. Mga ganun tipong examples, right? So kasi yung type 2 project, hindi kailangan real world yung example. And then there's there are other numerical evaluation, numerical integration techniques that are more apt for singular integrals. So, di ba, nag-discuss tayo ng mga integration anomalies sa isa sa mga modules natin. Tapos, ang tanging solution natin dun sa mga problematic integrands ay gumamit ng substitution formulas. Alright? Kaya lang, hindi lahat ng mga integrals ay kaya nating evaluate numerically and efficiently and probably accurately using just a simple change in the variable. So yung iba sa kanila kailangan natin gumamit ng mga specialized techniques like those integrals arising in engineering applications like in electromagnetism, in acoustic waves and so on, yung integral nila may mga singularities like jump discontinuities, essential discontinuities, unbounded integrands, or unbounded integration interval. So meron mga techniques na mas apt gamitin kapag yung mga integrals mo nagbo-blow up to infinity, yung mga non-convergent, actually, yung yung series of approximates ay hindi nagko-converge. So may mga specialized techniques like Nimstrom method, ano pa nga ba? So yeah, maraming mga methods, especially in the engineering literature. So you can take a look at them. And then pwede rin naman na stick to Monte Carlo simulations, pero type 1 project lang. Type 1 project lang ang Monte Carlo simulations because we already have a sort of an exposition of the method itself. So nasa modules yung parang kokopyahin nyo lang yung module that's a sample of a type 2 project for Monte Carlo simulations. So if you want to work in a more familiar topic, so yung Monte Carlo simulations, na-discuss naman natin siya sa klase, so type 1 na lang yung project na pwede nyong gawin para sa kanya. Meaning, you'll have a short exposition of the method itself, magkaroon kayo ng discussion about it, and then you apply the simulation technique into a real world data. So pili kayo ng data from the real world, mag Monte Carlo simulations kayo doon, interpret niyo yung results, then that would be a nice project. All right. Now, though I listed here a wide variety of topics, you are free to choose any topics. Kung may maisip kayo na isang topic, or halimbawa nag-ESP na kayo ngayon, tapos may nadaanan kayong numerical technique related to polynomial approximation, numerical differentiation, or numerical integration in your special problem or thesis, you can also work on it. So sabihan nyo lang ako beforehand kung wala dito yung topic na napili nyo. Right? So, any questions so far? Okay lang ba?
Sir, clarify ko lang po.
Aha.
Yung these possible para po sa type 1 projects, sila po yung pwede ba namin silang gamitan ng numerical techniques discussed in the class? Or mas maganda kung pumili kami from yung list of possible topics, sir?
Mas okay na pumili kayo dito sa list of possible topics. Again, kung wala dito sa possible topics yung gusto nyong gamitin, halimbawa, gusto nyong gamitin ay Newton codes para sa real world data. So, dahil yung Newton codes, wala siya dito sa possible topics, kailangan nyo akong sabihan beforehand na, sir, ganito po yung balak namin. Mag-Newton codes kami sa real world data. So, i-evaluate ko ngayon kung pag-isipan ko kung posible siyang gamitin. Kasi medyo, medyo mas madali yung ganon kasi na-discuss na natin sa klase yung method. So gusto ko sana mag-explore kayo. Pero kung makukumbinsin nyo naman ako na may something new yung gagawin nyo on top of the things that were discussed in class, baka payagan ko kayo. So ang ina-avoid ko lang ay maging parang lab exer siya. Yung final project. A little bit above being a lab exer. Kaya pag wala sa listahan na to, yung topics or yung numerical technique na gusto nyong gamitin, say for a type 1 project, especially if this was already the technique was already discussed in class, sabihan niyo ako beforehand. Then you'll need my approval to do that. All right? Okay lang ba 'yon?
Yes, sir. Medyo nalito lang ako dun sa dyan po sa possible topics. Okay. Another question, sir. Saan po, like, paano namin kayo magandang i-approach ng project? Like, are there open source materials na you can recommend that we look into, or may mga YouTubers ba na malakas din mag-discuss ng numerical techniques, sir?
Nice question. Actually, kaya ko dati hindi ako naglalagay ng possible topics, ano. Pwede niyong gawin is you pick one of this na medyo sounding familiar or sounding interesting for you. Tapos search nyo lang sa internet. There's a lot of materials right now. I just don't know YouTubers if marami nang nag-upload ng mga ganito. But there are open source materials like MIT. Maraming mga classes sa MIT na
Yes po, sir.
na-uploaded yung materials nila on the web for anybody to follow. So, pwede nyo tingnan yung MIT courses, open courseware on numerical analysis nila. And then hopefully nag-discuss sila sa mga isa sa mga nasa list na to. So, and then kung meron kayong makita na material na wala sa listahan tapos hindi rin natin na-discuss sa classes, so most likely maganda rin siyang gawing project. Baka hindi lang ako aware or familiar din sa method. Mas gusto ko nga yun para may matutunan akong bago while reading or watching your project. So, yan. There are some open source books, kaya lang wala akong comprehensive na listahan. So yeah, you can use the web to search for it. Kahit nga sa Wikipedia, may mga mahanap kayo diyang magagandang articles. Yun nga lang, be careful with Wikipedia. Hanapin niyo yung mga references na cited ni Wikipedia. Alright? So, parang ano kayo dito, nag-ESP. Pero maliit lang na SP. Huwag niyo naman masyadong kalaliman. Alright? So, hindi to SP. Or, sa bagay, kung maganda yung mapapresent nyo, ay yung magagawa niyong project, baka pwede kayong, pwede ko kayong i-recommend for, say, a paper presentation somewhere for students. So, yeah. Okay?
Okay po. Thank you, sir.
All right. And then you can consult with me kung during the Christmas break or during the course of the next few weeks. If you're doing your project, medyo hindi kayo sigurado, anytime you can contact me. You can also book an appointment with me. Kung gusto niyo mag-consult, sir, okay ba itong project namin? Ano po yung pwede namin i-improve? Sabihan niyo lang ako beforehand. So I can meet with you or pwede mag-email kayo. Let's exchange messages via email or via Teams. So okay lang naman sa akin yun, even during the Christmas break. All right? Now, ano yung output? Ito yung mahalaga. So, sa lahat ng klase ng projects, regardless of being type 1 or type 2, or kung ilan yung members ng group, kailangan may written report. Okay? So the written report will consist of at least the following sections. Una, nag-195 na ba kayo? So dun sa mga nag-195, familiar na kayo dito. So una, dapat may abstract. So it is a short paragraph describing what is done in the project and what the project is all about. So parang siya yung synopsis nung paper na sulat nyo. Okay? Then there should be an introduction which gives an overview of the project, significance, limitations, and possible applications, if any. So parang ano lang to, parang pinipitch nyo, binibenta nyo sa akin yung project nyo. Or ano yung motivation behind the project. Okay? And then I think a significant portion of your written report would be on the theoretical framework or methodology, especially if the method that you will be using was not discussed in class. So ito yung detailed exposition ng ano yung numerical techniques na ginagamit nyo. So pwede nyo simulan with how it was derived or ano yung mga formulas involved. Tapos pwede nyo ring sabihin kung paano nyo to i-implement. Nagsulat ba kayo ng sarili nyong program? Nagsulat ba kayo ng sarili nyong software para dito? Or posible rin naman na may existing ng software tapos ginamit nyo na lang siya. Okay lang din naman sa akin yon. So halimbawa, merong napaka-komplikadong technique. Tapos luckily, magaling kayo mag-search. May na-search kayo na software sa GitHub or somewhere else. Tapos di-download nyo siya, in-implement nyo siya, maganda naman yung result, mukhang tama naman yung result, then that's perfectly good. So just give appropriate citations or acknowledgement to your sources. Okay? So kaya nakalagay dyan, theoretical framework or methodology. So paano nyo gustong i-implement yung method. Okay? Tapos, syempre, merong results and discussions. Dito na papasok yung sa type 1 projects. Ano yung result pag in-apply niyo yung method na diniscuss niyo sa theoretical framework doon sa real-world data na napili niyo? Ano ba, GDP data yung ginamit niyo from say 1900 to 2020. So, tapos results and discussions, sabi niya, okay, eto po yung data. Tapos niran namin yung halimbawa logarithmic fit para dun sa data. Ito yung nakita naming model. So ilalagay niyo yung function na model niyo. Tapos sabihin niyo na this implies that say in the year 2025, ganito yung magiging GDP natin which is about something % increase from what we have right now. Can also talk about, say, ano yung mga implications. So ano pa yung mga ibang insights na makukuha nyo dun sa model. Halimbawa, by the year 2020, by the year 2050, and we do nothing to change the status quo, ganito yung magiging state ng Philippine economy. All right? But try to keep your interpretation of your work as confined and realistic as possible. Hindi kailangan napaka-ambisyoso nung analysis o nung conclusion nyo mula dun sa data na sabihin nyo, yayaman ng Pilipinas sa year 2025. So, ilimit nyo lang yung conclusion nyo dun sa kayang isupport nung results at data na nakuha nyo. Alright? And then the last one is a short chapter, which will be the conclusion, which will sort of bookend the project. Parang siya yung counterpart ng introduction. Sa introduction, sinabi nyo kung ano yung gusto nyong gawin. Sa conclusion, sasabihin nyo naman kung ano yung nagawa nyo, ano yung highlights ng results, tapos kung may mga possible applications or possible extensions yung project, or may naiisip kayo na susunod na mga posibleng projects that can come out of it, then you can write them in the conclusions. Okay? And then you can also add several sections as you see fit. Halimbawa, gusto niyo magkaroon ng section on acknowledgement to give proper thanks to those who help you do the project, or you found some online materials, so pwede niyo siyang ilagay doon sa acknowledgement. Kung humingi kayo ng tulong from somebody outside of the class or outside of your group, so you can also include them, parang pa-shout out sa acknowledgement section. And then, yeah, kung may iba pa kayong maisip na sections, pwede nyo siyang idagdag. Tapos, hindi necessarily ito yung title ng mga sections. I just call them as such kasi sila yung mga traditional na laman ng isang academic paper or isang journal article. So, yeah, you can follow this outline. Essentially, ito yung content. You can add more sections to it, or hatiin nyo yung isang section into several subsections. So bahala na kayo para mas maganda yung exposition. All right? So any questions with the written report? I'm going to show you some examples later. So towards the end of the class, after nating daanan tong PDF file na to. Questions? Sige, show of hands. Sino yung nag-195 na sa inyo? Kasi may advantage na yung mga nag-math to 195. Okay, thank you, Chazel. Ezekiel. Oh, yun naman pala. So, yung mga ka-groups nila, hindi na kayo mahihirapan. So, alam na ni Chazel at saka ni Ezekiel kung paano nagsusulat ng isang academic paper. Or those who have already done their thesis or SP, so alam na nila yung mga gagawin. Okay? Now, walang format yung, hindi ako magbibigay ng template para sa written report. My only request is that it be typewritten, or it is computer processed para mas professional looking yung material. So bahala na kayo kung anong format ang gagawin nyo. Do it in Microsoft Word, do it in LaTeX if you're more familiar with it. Tapos kayo na yung bahala kung 1.5 spacing, pero wag niyo nang i-1.5 spacing pala or double space. Single spacing will do para mas madaling basahin, kasi pagka double spaced medyo mahaba yung file na lalabas, so hindi naman kailangang naka-double space. So pwede ring 2 column, so you have one page divided into 2 columns. That's also fine. So bahala na kayo, just make it look as professional as possible. You can browse journal articles para makita nyo kung paano sila sinusulat. If you want to have more ideas, you can visit my website. Meron ako doon mga kopya ng mga paper na sinulat ko recently. So you can take a look at the format. Usually, yung mga format na yon ay dina-download ko dun sa mismong journal kung saan ko gusto mag-publish o i-submit yung paper ko for publication. So, yeah, meron doon mga latex template or Word templates na pwede nyong gamitin. Oh, by the way, I forgot that bibliography or references section is also required. So, kailangan nandun yung references nyo, ano yung mga materials na ginamit nyo. So provide proper citation for materials that you are using. Okay? So that's it for the written report. And then kapag kayong group nyo ay may 3 or 4 na members, so may additional kayong requirement na kailangang isubmit. Kailangan nyo ng isang video recording simulating an oral presentation of your project. So kasi unfair nga naman dun sa isa or dalawa lang kayo sa group tapos pare-parehas lang isa-submit. So to compensate for that, yung mga groups na 3 or 4 yung miyembro, kailangan nyo magpasa ng isang oral presentation. Now, it should be a video recording para hindi na tayo mahirapang mag-schedule during the finals week. So you can do it over the break. Tapos para mapulido nyo rin siya kasi yung iba kinakabahan pag live. So sa Math 195 na kayo magla-live, pero sa Math 174, okay na sa akin yung video recording, right? So it could be a slide presentation. Gawa kayo ng PowerPoint slide or Beamer presentation in LaTeX. Or pwede rin namang isang post. Hope you guys have already seen a poster paper na nandun lahat ng elements nung work nyo. Tapos, syempre, nandun kayo, nagsasalita kayo or may voice over yung PowerPoint or pwede rin naman gawin nyo may PowerPoint tapos group sa isang Teams meeting or isang Zoom meeting tapos screen share tapos record. So, pwede na siya. Just keep your recording at most 10 minutes para mabilis namin siyang mapanood. Now, what would be the content? So para siyang oral presentation, reporting ng ginawa nyo. So essentially, all the components of the written report, more or less, should be tackled in the oral presentation. But the focus would be more on the results of your discussion, the results of your simulations for Type 1 projects. For Type 2 projects, you can dwell more on the method itself or yung idea behind the method. So yun nga lang ang request ko, no more than 10 minutes para hindi naman ganun kahirap panoorin yung presentation. Okay? Wala akong example nung video presentations kasi ngayon ko lang siya ginawa. Usually, pag nagpapapresent kami ay talaga live presentation, may PowerPoint yung mga students, tapos pinapresent nila sa harap ng klase. But now, kasi I understand that most of you might be cramming materials for other classes, then i-record na lang natin. And then finally, the deadline for both the written and the video recording would be on January 8 in Canvas. Okay lang ba? Tingin nyo ba okay lang yung deadline? January 8, that would be a Saturday, second Saturday of 2022. Okay lang ba siya or do you need more time? Ang last day of the finals ay January 11. Pero I thought it would be better to have it earlier para may time kami para mag-grade tapos makita niyo yung final grades nyo tapos makapag-usap pa tayo kung meron kayong mga reklamo or meron kami mga na-miss na i-grade na mga outputs nyo para ma-check natin before kami mag-submit ng grade. So what do you guys think? Okay lang ba yung January 8 na deadline? Regardless of when the Math 174 final exam will be scheduled by the registrar? Sure? Walang reklamo? Sabagay, matagal pa naman January 8. So you have almost 3 weeks to do this. Going once, going twice, going thrice, sold. So bawal ng palitan, January 8 deadline ng project. Okay? So any questions? Kasi susunod magpe-present na ako ng ilang mga examples ng mga written projects. Okay, sure. Walang questions? Yes, Ezekiel?
Sir, good morning po.
Yep, good morning.
May required minimum page po ba sa written report?
Wala naman. So, yeah, hindi na ako naglalagay ng minimum number pages kasi pag magsabi ako ng 10 pages, gagawin niyo naman, bobolahin niyo lang naman ako dun sa mga kulang na pages. Nag-type kayo, naka 5 pages lang kayo, sinabi ko na at least 10. Bobolahin nyo lang naman ako dun sa natitirang 5 pages na idadagdag nyo. So why not, why not just accept any number of pages that you produced? Okay lang sa akin yan. The length of your submission doesn't translate to higher grades. So hopefully nakita nyo na doon sa mga essay questions. Usually sa essay questions sa problem set, meron lang akong isang phrase na hinahanap, parang mga 5 words akong hinahanap na pag nakita ko yon dun sa sagot nyo, okay na siya sa akin. You get the perfect score. Compared to those who will write a full paragraph for a certain question. So yeah, yun yung filosofiya ko. So bakit pa natin pahabain kung kaya lang namang na maikse? So bahala na kayo kung ilan yung number of pages na ipoproduce nyo. As long as you were able to satisfactorily discuss the method, present your results, okay, then that's fine with me. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Michael.
Sir, hindi ko lang po natanong kanina, pero po once po na makapili po kami ng topic, need pa po ba namin kayong i-email or i-message po kung ano yung topic na pinili po or diretso na po sa paggawa?
Kung yung napili nyo ay nandito sa bullets, pwedeng diretso na kayong gumawa. Pag wala dito sa bullets, kailangan nyo akong sabihan. Sige, para mas madali. Pagka wala sa bullets, pero hindi natin diniscuss sa klase, pwede na kayong diretsong gumawa. Kailangan nyo lang akong i-email o i-chat kapag yung napili nyong topic ay na-discuss natin sa klase. So, kasi kailangan yung akong kumbinsihan na there's something more na maibibigay kayo aside from what we discussed in class. So, kung gagamit kayo ng Newton codes para sa isang data, sabihan nyo ako kasi kailangan pag-isipan, may bago ba silang mako-contribute dun sa discussion ng Newton codes? Kasi ginawa na natin yun sa klase. Pero kapag hindi pa natin nagagawa sa klase yung method, kahit wala siya sa list na to, wag nyo na akong i-email. Pwedeng diretso gawa na. Of course, yung Monte Carlo simulation, diniscuss natin siya sa klase, pero nandun siya sa list. So kung magma-Monte Carlo simulation kayo, hindi nyo na ako kailangan sabihan. Okay?
Okay po, sir. Thank you.
All right. And then, of course, whenever you are in doubt, you are free and actually encouraged to let me know. I'll try my best to guide you in this project. Okay? Sige, tingin tayo ng mga examples. Lipat lang ako ng screen. See, PDF. Okay, ito. So ito yung mga sample projects ng mga dati kong mga estudyante. First one, risk-neutral valuation of Asian and look-back options using Monte Carlo simulation. So malamang mga nasa actuarial science track yung nag-submit ng project na to. Actually, si Sir Angelo ay isa sa mga gumawa nitong project na to. So, ayan, nahalata tuloy. Naging estudyante ko si Sir Angelo. So, pero hindi naman naglalayo ang edad namin. Pero yeah, naging estudyante ko siya way back in the day. And then ito yung project nila. So, I guess they chose this topic because this is part of one of their classes in the actuarial science track. So, kaya mas ano rin sila, familiar and mas comfortable sila working in this topic. And then, medyo marami nga sila dito. 5 sila. Tapos they have an abstract here, okay, which is a short description of what the paper is all about. And then may introduction, okay. Parang diniscuss nila dito ano yung gusto nilang gawin in the project, what are its significance, and a little backgrounder of what they are trying to discuss. Tapos, thankfully, dahil alam nila na hindi naman ako into AS masyado, dinefine din nila yung mga basic terms dito, ano yung isang options contract, what's a call option, etc. Okay. And then, actually, in the introduction, you can also write what are the objectives of your project, ano yung mga gusto nyong gawin dun sa project na yon. So, parang in-specify din nila dito yon. Okay. Tas medyo naging comfortable na ako kasi nakita ko na may Brownian motion, tas Monte Carlo simulation. So some terms that are familiar to me now. So kasi dun sa introduction nila, wala talaga akong ka-idea. So at least here, medyo naging comfortable ako dyan. And then they have their theoretical framework. So they discuss what a European call option is. Okay, so yan. Asian and look-back call option. Monte Carlo simulation. Though what I would have wanted in this project to make it better, yung mas seamless sana yung transition from one paragraph to another. So treat this as not a bulleted type of a discussion, pero para talagang exposition. Para kayo nagsusulat ng libro na merong at least isang magandang segue from one section to another. So try as much as possible to do that. Okay. Of course, nandito lahat ng mga formulas, lahat ng mga ideas required. And then they have their discussion. I think this is a problem of type, somewhere between type 1 and type 2. Kasi hindi lang siya exposition, pero medyo theoretical yung result nila. I don't think they employed it in... meron pala. They applied Monte Carlo simulation to approximate the risk-neutral price for a European call option with constant interest rate and volatility. Pero nasa pagitan siya ng type 1 and type 2 kasi I don't think they used specific data. So nag-assume lang sila ng constant interest rate at saka volatility dun sa model nila. So what I think their final conclusion here is that they have a formula para dun sa risk involved with this kind of transactions. So yeah. Right, and then they wrote a conclusion. Okay. Just summarizing what they did, and then naglagay ba sila ng future works? Di na sila naglagay ng future works. So basically, kunento nila kung ano yung ginawa nila, and other possible applications, like instead of using Monte Carlo simulation, they're looking into some more stochastically inclined methods para sa pag-simulate nung phenomenon. Okay. And then they have their references as always. Okay, laging required yung references. Right. Another problem, talagang hinanap ko yung project ng mga lab instructors nyo. So si Sir Jacob, naging estudyante ko rin back in the day. Tapos ang ginawa nila ay approximating the area of Laguna Lake using least squares criterion and Monte Carlo simulation. So usually ito yung title page, title, the authors, the members of the group, their affiliation, and then optional yung email addresses. And then of course they have their abstract here, which will tell me ano yung gusto nilang gawin. And then they have the keywords. Ito yung siguro yung mga topics involved. So if you want to, halimbawa hindi ako familiar dun sa ginawa nila, and I want to be familiar with the things that they will be using before reading the paper itself. Ito mga keywords, yan yung isa-search ko, say sa internet o sa mga libro. Ano ba yung least squares approximation? Ano yung Monte Carlo simulation? To give me a better idea of about. Okay. Tapos dahil approximating the area nga ba? Yeah, the area of Laguna Lake. Siyempre yung introduction nila, nag-start ano nga ba yung Laguna Lake. Tapos dito, kunento nila in the next paragraph. Oops, ano nangyayari? Naghang yung Adobe ko. Pero yon, sabihin nila ano yung mga possible ways of approximating the surface area of a lake. So sinabi nila dito yung mga methods, tapos sinabi rin nila na ano yung gagamitin nila. Alright? Okay, sa introduction. Tapos meron silang preliminaries and technical frameworks. So the titling of the sections is really up to you. Kung paano nyo, feeling nyo mas mabibigyan ng justice yung discussion nyo. Yun yung ilagay nyo as a title. Tapos they have some images here. Okay, probably what I would have suggested them is put labels for your figures. So meron ka ditong map. Lagyan nyo sa ilalim ng figure 1. aerial view of Laguna Lake or a map of Laguna de Bay. Parang ganon. Para mas professional looking siya. Alright. Though sinabi naman nila sa main text, pero mas maganda na sa ilalim ng figure, nakalagay ano ba or may short description or caption kung ano yung nandun sa figure. Tapos yan. Sinek ko lang kung may nag-chat kasi. Alright, so yan. Tapos, nilagay nila, okay, so ito yung itsura nung Laguna Lake. Tapos parang minodel nila yung bawat bahagi ng Laguna Lake. So, say the Laguna Lake will have this shape for some of its figure. Gumamit sila ng least squares fit. Tapos, ito yung nakuha nilang model para doon. Tapos yan, minodel nila lahat ng parte ng Laguna Lake. Hinati nila into several sub-regions. Minodel nila using least squares. Tapos inintegrate nila ngayon yung area ng yung area ng mga actually inintegrate nila yung function model nila para sa bawat part. So they look at they used Monte Carlo simulation in order to find the area of the region bounded above by their model for the specific shape of the certain part of the lake and the x-axis. So yung mga nasa figures sa kanan, yun yung pina-integrate nila using Monte Carlo simulation. And then the sum of these integrals was their approximate for the area of Laguna de Bay. Okay. So, ang dami palang shapes na ginamit nila. So, itong shape na to, ito yung model nila para sa kanya using several points there. Tapos, yeah, diniscuss nila sa results and discussion ano ba yung nakuha nila na area. So, sinabi nila, ganito po yung ginawa namin sa ito yung results ng pag-carry out ng least squares approximation para dun sa mga data points coming from the map. Tapos, inintegrate nila itong functions F1 hanggang F9 using Monte Carlo simulation. Medyo mahaba yung paper nila, 24 pages. So, medyo bilisan natin. So, pinakita rin nila yung mga random draws. If you think this will be too much in the main paper, you can just include it as an appendix sa dulo. Lalo na yung mga tables na mga random numbers na ginamit nyo. Pwede nyo siyang hindi isama, but if you want to include all the details, you can do so just as like what they did here. But I think it would be neater if you will put it at the end as an appendix. All right? Kasi hindi ko rin naman babasahin yung mga random numbers na generate nyo. So, mas okay na nasa appendix na lang siya. Na kung gusto kong balikan or gusto kong i-recreate yung simulation nyo, pwede ko siyang gawin. Okay. So, mahaba yung results nila. And then the total area dito, their conclusion is that the relative error of the area that they got is about 3.2%. So kung isipin nyo, parang ang galing-galing naman yung ginawa nila na they are just students, Math 174 students, and yet they have arrived at an estimate of the area of Laguna Lake by just going into Google Maps or Google Earth and then using principles that they learned in class in order to get an area of, or the area of Laguna Lake accurate up at around, or with error of only around 3.20%. And then, yeah. So, pwede nga ito ay nasa conclusion part na nila. Etong according to US Geosciences and so on. So, itong part na to pwedeng nasa conclusion section na. And then, of course, their references. Then some other projects estimating the area of Mount Makiling using polynomial regression and Monte Carlo simulation. Medyo katulad din to nung ginawa nila katulad nung ginawa nila Sir Jacob. Instead of Laguna Lake, Mount Makiling yung ginawa nila. And then somebody did work on Bezier curves. So, ito yung parang type 2 project. Kasi hindi real-world data yung ginamit nila. Quote-unquote, hindi real-world. Pero kung makikita nyo, diniscuss nila yung Bezier curve. Tapos yung example na kinonstruct nila is quite interesting. Pinagtripan nila yung isa nilang member. Yeah. May picture ng isa nilang members. Tapos, ginamitan nila or nirecreate nila yung portrait using Bezier curves. So, ito yung final output nila. And then, they just use smoothing techniques para mas smooth yung maging itsura ng kanilang portrait. Okay? And here, I think they only use 338 points, and yet they have captured the image ng gustong gawin. And then, parang ganito yung idea behind scanners. So, meron kang figure, tapos i-scan nila yan, they can model it, store the data using Bezier curves or using matrices for pixels and so on. Tapos, nakakuha sila ng figure that can be manipulated by a computer. Tapos, pwede mo itong ipasok sa isang machine learning algorithm para ma-sort niya ano ba yung portrait na na-scan ko. So, para mga ganun. Pero that's for another day. Hopefully, we'll have a special topics class probably on inverse problems and machine learning, hopefully in the future. Okay. And then, yeah, merong forecasting the Philippine economic productivity by gross domestic product, and then estimating area of Taal volcano using the same method. Ito na yata yung kanina. Mount Makiling yung kanina, yung ngayon naman Taal volcano. There are some groups na ang ginawa nila ay in-approximate nila yung area ng mga banga, yung mga bollards sa UPLB using Monte Carlo simulation and numerical integration techniques. All right? So I think that's it. I hope you now have a better idea of what the project is all about. So again, the deadline for the project, both the written and the video recording, is on January 8. May separate submission bins kay Canvas. Pagka 1 or 2 members, okay na kayo sa written. Kapag 3 or 4 members, kailangan nyo mag-submit both ng written at saka video recording. Sa video recording, bahala na kayo kung sino yung magre-report. Pwedeng pumili, mag-assign lang kayo ng isang member or pwedeng lahat kayo mag-appear dun sa video recording. Just limit it to at most 10 minutes. Okay? Siguro mga 5 to 10 minutes would be ideal, or 7 to 10 minutes would be ideal. All right? So, any questions, guys? All right, wala na bang questions? So, do you think we need to meet on Thursday pa? Because we can call Thursday a holiday for the class. Then you can spend this time for you guys to talk among your group, or para pag-usapan nyo yung project nyo. Or pwede nyo naman tapusin yung problem set, which would be due on the 21st. Okay lang ba? So hindi na ako mag-open ng meeting sa Thursday. Is that good with you? Pero kung may tanong kayo, I'll be available. Chat nyo lang ako sa Teams. I can open the meeting. Meron na tayong meeting link for Thursday. Hindi ko siya i-open, pero kung feeling nyo or may tanong kayo or feeling nyo kailangan nyo akong kausapin, i-chat nyo ako tapos bubuksan ko yung meeting. Alright? So, I think that's all for today. So, Exegel. So, ganun na lang. So, let's meet if needed. Pero kung hindi naman, spend the day talking with your group mates para mapagplanuhan nyo, ma-divide nyo na yung labor. So siguro ngayon napapaisip na kayo, magtatatlo or 4 pa ba tayo sa group or magdalawang tig-dalawang members na lang tayo. Pero I mean, it doesn't matter which one you choose. So yeah. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me today. Congratulations, almost done na ang Math 174. Hopefully, 2 na lang yung naantay namin, final project at saka yung problem set. So as soon as you are done with an item in the problem set, upload it para pwede ko na siyang simulang gradean, hindi ako matambakan. So yeah, and then focus na kayo sa final project. So thank you guys and see you kailan? See you in the future. So hindi na tayo magkikita-kita sa Thursday. It was fun being in the class. So thank you guys for the nice class. And yeah, let's see each other in the future. Bye guys.
Thank
Bye
you po,
po, sir.
sir.
Thank you
Ingat
po.
po.
Salamat, sir.
Yep. Thank you guys.